The two of you have talked to more people who've had nail gun injuries than anybody else in the world, I suspect. And I want to know what y'all thought when you first started talking to people. When you first started hearing about these injuries, what'd you think?
I was amazed at it. I didn't realize after so many years of driving nails with a hammer that so many guys were getting hurt. Fact is, I called Denny up one day after so many guys were reported getting hurt. I asked him what the difference was between a sequential and a contact trip gun. Of course, Denny, being like me, didn't know either. So we learned.
Yeah, we did learn on the job site. I mean, when we first started getting reports, Jim was getting more reports than I was, so I was shocked by the call, really. And again, neither one of us knew a lot about nail guns, how they operated. But we learned pretty quickly.
So what was happening to these folks? I mean, why were they getting hurt?
These guys were shooting over the top of the surface they were working on, or something was ricocheting off of something like a previous nail that had been double shot. A lot of hand and finger injuries is what I noticed at first, which really wasn't a surprise. I was more surprised later on in the project when we seen them getting foot and knee and leg injuries. And I was a little taken aback by the amount of injuries, and it ended up later being around 12%. A coworker was being shot by, the worker actually with the nail gun in his hand. So those were all kind of surprises in sequence.
Is this just not part of being a construction worker?
They're making this sound like if you didn't get shot by a gun, you really weren't a carpenter.
I was taken by that a few years back when the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta came out with their numbers. It was 37,000 a year. People reported to the emergency room with nail gun injuries. And it was not shocking until they broke it down. It seemed like the 60% that were carpenters and did this work for a living was an acceptable number. And when Jim and me talk about that, it's not an acceptable number to us at all. So something needs to be done.
So there's this thought that if you're getting paid to do it, it's okay if you get hurt. But if you just start doing it to build your own deck, it's not an okay thing.
Yeah, it's not okay. It's not okay for anybody, carpenters or consumers, either one. Something needs to be done.
So if the two of you could do whatever you wanted to fix this problem, what would you do?
Well, I guess we're doing it right now. We're doing something. It's probably could have been done 30 years ago. We're way late in the start of this. That so many people have gotten injured. Someone told me one time, that's just
So what would you do? If you could fix it, if you were the czar of nail gun injury, and you could fix it, what would you do today? What's the first thing you would do?
Well, the first thing would be to eliminate the contact trip gun trigger. I mean, it's simple. They've already got the other one. They've had it for over 30 years. It's patented on the safer trigger. And that is the simplest way. It costs nobody any money. And it would save countless amount of, I'm saying young people, but older people too, but these young people that aren't aware yet. That would save a lot of people getting hurt.
So that leaves us with what we call the sequential trip trigger that has to be done in a sequence. And after we've gone to that extreme, given it's extreme, absolutely get a training program established. Nobody uses these tools without a certification of some kind. Now, whether it's a 4-hour class, whether it's an 8-hour class, whatever it ends up being, there needs to be a certification. Somebody has to say, a governing body, that this guy is certified to use this tool. So outlawing one, making sure that people are trained on the other, are the two first steps, I think, in the process.
How are we going to really get training to folks? Because we've all heard stories of people who are supposed to be getting training on a job site and they are asked to sign off that they were there, and the point is just signing off and saying that you did it. What do we really need to do to get training on job sites?
Well, It's a $100,000 question. It's tough because of the what I say the American system now is nobody cares, and we've got to start caring about our employees. The contractors have to care that these youngsters get home every night.
We've implemented safety rules. Our members are all required 8 hours per year of additional safety training every year. It's an ongoing CEU type program that they run. The union alone can't get the guys involved well enough in this system. We're still running short of our expectation. Contractor base would be very helpful. Every time we've involved contractors who actually care about their employees, those numbers just jump. And then for whatever reason, when that interest kind of wanes, well, then so does the amount of members that we train for safety. That goes in. So I think it'd be very important to get the contractor base involved, to make them realize it's just not a safety program for the drawer of the president up in his office. The safety program not only has to be up in his office, it has to be out on the subfloor, out on the job site. We get them interested in that and basically sold that that's really going to make a difference. I think the rest would follow right along. So the more people you have trained, fewer of the injuries you're going to have.
I know both of you have been involved in prevention of falls, which is a leading cause of death on construction sites. And the injuries from nail guns are mostly to the hand and fingers, like you said. So, I mean, is it really important? I mean, should we be giving this emphasis or not?
Well, someone said one time, unless they get killed with one, it's not important. Well, I don't look at it that way. To me, it's very important. These two hands, what a carpenter has, that's his tools for his lifetime. And as you get too many injuries, you're going to get different things, arthritis and things happening. And then you are what they call used goods. And you can't do the job as well. And the guy sees that, well, let's get rid of this guy. He's, it's just a matter of we have to be healthy to work in this business. It's a tough business, and if we can eliminate that nail gun injury, that would be a good step.
They can be avoided. It's very easy to avoid them. Just take the steps that have been proven to work. Jim here plays soccer every Sunday, and I played golf just about every Sunday that the weather permits. We couldn't do that. We had several nail gun injuries in our knees, in our hands. If these guys want to go hunting, fishing, softball, golf, whatever, when they're our age, whenever they achieve retirement, we love retirement. We want them to have what we have.
So I've been the cruncher of numbers that you sent, but you talk to all these people, and you have to experience this differently than I do. And I'm curious about, after having talked to nearly 500 people who got shot with a nail gun, what it feels like to you when you talk to another one. Or
yes, it's true, and it's getting so that my wife at home says, "Jim, quit talking about it," But I mean, it's in my heart, and just like 2 weeks ago or a week ago when we had down here, and a young fellow had shot himself right in the stomach with the gun and contact trip, and he had his finger on the trigger and bent over and put a 3 3/4 inch nail right in the stomach. So I mean that's bad, but sure that goes right through us, and we think, gosh, that could have been avoided. And I told the young man that. I said, this shouldn't have happened if we'd have had a rule that said you can't have a gun on the job. So there it is. We aren't going to quit on it.
You talked about damaged goods, and I'm curious as to how much you think that drives the horse. I mean, are people worried about losing their jobs now? Are they afraid to report injuries? Or does that play into it at all?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
When we first started talking to the guys, Jim mentioned we did phone interviews. We were really fortunate in 2004, I think, to start doing personal interviews face-to-face. And it's a lot of numbers. 500 people's a lot. But I want to tell you, when you're sitting across from this guy, that face-to-face, very telling. And if that don't get you going, you need to do something else. So.
Yeah, I suspect you have heard stories from the heart from some of these folks.
Absolutely. Yeah, they tell you. Well, you know, what was so good about me and Denny doing this and you asking us to do it is that we're both carpenters. We both related to the guys. And especially when we talked on the telephone to them, the first 400, 500 we did, on a telephone. And then it's hard to get through it because guys don't want to tell you, you know, unless they know you. So it'd take me about 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden they're kind of knowing where I'm coming from. And so we got good information, honest, I believe, very honest from them. And it was very, and I hope going back to you, you got it, you know what we got there. It's all good stuff, and I'm very happy to have done it.
So do you think the day will come when we'll look back and go, oh my gosh, we used those dangerous contact trip guns? And
no safety glasses. But, you know, well, of course, we just had a hammer. Now, we weren't using nail guns, but still, I mean, things happen. And I'll tell the story on myself because I did it. And I was hammering a partition up, and a carpenter was walking over to get some nails, and he was 30 feet away, and my nail flew. And sometimes you hit him, and the fly flew all the way over, hit him right in the eye. The backside of the nail in the eye of this guy on my crew, and I felt so bad. I thought I put his eye out, and well, they got him and rushed him to the hospital, and they saved his eye. But that was, you know, that was something that could happen too. I mean, with the hammer. So I mean, there's always things that could happen. But what I think we're doing here is trying to make this less. You know, with the nail gun, there's so many more flying than with the hammer did, and if we can make it less for the guys and let them get home to their wives and kids
and husbands.
And husband, yeah, right. The young ladies out there, right. And we want them to get home too, absolutely.
Yes, I think there is a day coming. We're going to see a lot better. We've been doing this long enough now that we have seen change. I'm really lucky to be on a different project on fall protection, and I can report to you that I'm very happy that when I pull up on a job site now, every one of them's got a hard hat on. Every one of our members has got safety glasses on. Every one of our members have working boots or hard shoes on, you know, for their added protection. So this is not happening near fast enough for me and Jim.
Are you seeing sequential triggers?
I'm not as happy to report that we're still seeing some contact trip triggers on the sites. Clearly, they're not supposed to be there. The general safety climate of the jobs look better, and I'm very heartened by that. And I think with a little patience that the nail gun will follow along. It's inevitable. It's the right thing to do, and I'm sure that eventually we'll be able to express that strongly enough that people will see it.
So if you both had an audience with Dr. Michaels, the director of OSHA, or with Hilda Solis, the head of the Department of Labor, you got 2 minutes with her to tell her your spiel about nail guns, what would you tell her?
Well, it's probably about the same thing I'm saying to you folks, but I wrote them both a letter explaining to them how many people were hurt here in our area, and I'm sure all over the country, and explaining that we think that if they could, using their power to persuade to change that and get rid of that contact nailer, would help. And I really have not got anything back from them that says they are looking into that, but we haven't given up.
Actually got on a conference call last December, that's December of 2010. Jim and I both gave passionate pleas about, you know, what we want to see done. Unfortunately, the rebuttal was given by the manufacturer and the contractor base, basically. they don't see it like we see it.
Why not? Why don't they? I mean, why don't they?
That's a very good question. I wish I had just the first part of the clue to that answer.
I don't know. I can't understand because if a guy is injured and he's taken care of properly, which means taking him to the hospital, it's a serious enough injury, and having him taken care of, the cost of that just outweighs the whole house that he's building. I mean, I can't understand how I can't see that, because with the cost of one injury like that would just offset all his profit on that particular house. And I'd say you try to stay away from that kind of a thing. That would be my read on it.